What's up, guys? Welcome back to Post Pro Podcast, episode 7. We got some fun stuff to talk about today, and let's just hop right into it because I know, Sebastian, you're excited. Everyone's excited.
Oh, yes.
The Snyder Cut has been announced for a 2021 release on HBOMax.
Let's go. We did it.
I wouldn't call myself excited, but I'm so happy it's happening.
No,
It is
really
pretty
excited.
cool. It's just kind of cool.
Yeah.
This has happened.
The amount of funds that had to be put into that to do all the extra post-pro work. Oh my god.
Like, you've read some of the releases, right? Like, everybody's read at least some more about other than just it's going to be released. Because they are redoing at least some
They
of it.
funded a shit ton of work.
It's 4 hours long.
It's 4 hours, not 3.5.
I heard the
Yeah.
assembly cut was 4.5 hours long. So,
Yeah, it's
there's
4
no way
hours.
the actual theatrical, or the actual...
Whoa. What is that? A stream-atrical? But
The actual release, I don't think it's going to be 4 hours.
It's a
long.
re-release, Thomas. It's a re-release.
I think it's actually going to be good. So
I don't. I think it's gonna be the same.
I have high hopes.
basic
high
premise.
hopes.
I think it'll be better than what we got because Justice League was bad.
It
Yeah,
was awful.
it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it could be better. I don't know. I guess there's going to be more of it, probably. So,
Oh yeah,
I
it'll
can see this,
definitely be longer than the 2-hour runtime.
Being
Justice League
okay.
was.
Also worried about tie-ins to sequels that are now canceled and everything too.
Yeah.
Is the Flash movie still being made?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
it's always being made.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think the most interesting thing comparing this Snyder Cut to what we got in the theatrical will be, because I've read up on Zack Snyder's original vision for what he wanted to do with the Justice League trilogy, which is honestly kind of cool, but of course it comes off a lot cooler when you read it than when you read movies. So,
Yeah, when you see it.
yeah. But I'll definitely watch it. It'll be interesting to see what's different.
Is that cigar?
Yes. Also, there's a lot of stuff you can read online because he's been releasing for the past couple months, concept art and stuff. Green Lantern Corps is going to be in the movie. Also, Wonder Woman cuts off Steppenwolf's head. She just chops his head off. It's pretty badass.
I'm sure that'll make the movie much better.
Yeah.
I'm excited, dude.
Yeah,
I don't really. I don't care. I'm excited.
Didn't Steppenwolf just kind of what happened to him in the theatrical?
Dude,
Just
I have forgotten. I have forgotten what has happened. Didn't he get killed by Didn't he kill by Darkseid or something? He teleported away or?
Oh, whoa, no. It was Cyborg
Yeah, I don't remember.
and Superman were able to They were it was Cyborg had to connect himself to the mother box so he could hack it and attack Steppenwolf with it or something like that.
Oh my god. It
Dude,
just
I
proves
don't
how
know.
forgettable the movie was.
Yeah.
Also, I hated Justice League not because of how incoherent it was. There was so many characters that didn't do anything. Cyborg, you didn't get anything of him in the movie. He was just there. Also, Aquaman was just there, and literally there wasn't any dialogue between Cyborg or Aquaman. They just simply were there, and really?
Yeah.
That's it.
Steppenwolf was also probably one of the worst villains
I've
in
ever
a
seen.
long while. Yeah, even I've ever seen. Gray villain, right? It's the same thing with the end of Iron Man 1. That's a much better film, but the villain's arguably the worst part of it, right? It's just, look at this big gray thing that we have to go on and fight now.
Yeah.
Also, we're gonna get Darkseid too, which is gonna be that's gonna be pretty awesome to finally see Darkseid live actual. He's gonna be CGI, obviously, but just being able to see him. That's
Do you think
pretty
it's going to
cool.
be? Do you think it's going to be a Thanos sort of thing, at the end of Avengers, a little cutscene?
Yeah, it definitely won't be substantial.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, no, they also said that Brainiac was in the film somewhere, so it's probably Brainiac as the.
How was
Really?
Brainiac
Dude,
in there too?
There's
dude?
he listed a huge crazy list of all the fucking things in the Snyder Cut that got cut.
Well, Darkseid is supposed to be the big baddie because
he is the big baddie.
Yeah, because back in Batman v Superman, his the nightmare. That's like Darkseid taking over the world.
Yeah, that's the little dark side minions, all the the guys that with the wings,
the bug people.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
and you know, I think is to me what's honestly going to be kind of heartbreaking about seeing the Snyder Cut is like I don't know if you guys have like looked into it, but like Ben Affleck, like a lot of the reason he didn't want to be do it anymore is because the Zack Snyder Cut did not get released. There's like a couple of interviews where he's talked about it. He's like, you know, there was so much like cool stuff in that cut, and he's talked about it. So I think it's gonna be a little, for me personally, it's been kind of heartbreaking to actually see like Ben Affleck like a lot more in the movie and kind of see what he's been talking about. And Momoa too has been talking about it for a while. Like he's wanted to see it for ages because he actually gets to do stuff in it. So
Affleck was a good Batman with really bad scripts.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought his Batman was really good.
If he actually had like a Nolan level screenplay, he would have been up there with like Bale.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
If anybody had a Nolan level screenplay, they'd be up there.
No, I mean, I think he'd be on the same level. He was a really good pick for Batman. I thought everything he was given was just trash tier.
I think the problem was after Man of Steel, because Man of Steel was like Snyder's vision, and then that completely split fans, right? And the studios were like, "Ooh, we don't want fans to be split." So I think from that point on, there was so much studio interference. And then Suicide Squad came out, and everyone was hyped for that. And then you know how that was.
And then Suicide Squad happened.
Right. So I think that kind of messed up everything. If we had been able to see his like true vision all the way through, I think it definitely would have been better than what we got.
I mean, Colin, me and you both like Batman versus Superman, correct?
I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think I honestly like. Again, I'm probably one of the. I mean, it's a pretty unpopular opinion, but I mean, I really enjoy like all the Zack Snyder movies. I mean, I love Man of Steel, and I think Batman versus Superman was like a very unique like vision. And that's why I'm excited to see Justice League. I'm not expecting it to be like tenfold way better than what we actually got, but I'm expecting it to be a lot more coherent and like just getting to actually see what Zack Snyder wanted to do with the movies, because clearly they have no idea what they're doing now. So just to see like
and at the same time, I mean, because of like why he dropped out and everything, that was obviously, you know, horrible. And like how do you even, you know, come back with anything in that situation? And so, you know, that production was doomed from the get-go. And then I mean the studio tried and they brought in Joss Whedon. And it was, I feel like there was just like after Zack Snyder had to drop out of it, there was just, you knew it was going to be not good.
Yeah, it really was a flop. It's really a pretty terrible movie, but we'll see how a cut turns out.
Speaking of Christopher Nolan, are you guys excited? Tonight at 8 p.m., we're getting a new trailer for Tenet in Fortnite.
Oh.
In Fortnite, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go! Oh! Let's go!
Okay, Thomas.
I'm so excited. I'm going to be downloading Fortnite.
Wait, is Travis Scott going to be there? Is Travis Scott? JoJo Challenge?
Travis Scott premieres Tenet. Christopher Nolan. Can you imagine if like they put Christopher Nolan in the game like as a playable character to introduce the trailer? I cannot wait.
Disconnect from your fan base.
Oh my god,
that's excited for Tenet. Plays fucking Fortnite.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. It's a smart business move.
Because a lot of people play Fortnite and a lot of people watch Christopher Nolan movies. I mean, I don't think it's a bad
I
idea.
don't think.
And also, I mean, like,
it's not a bad idea.
Also, you gotta think about it, like.
Sorry, it's not going to like decrease popularity. Okay, we cut each other off like twice there.
That's okay.
But I mean, it's
I was just gonna say you got.
It definitely is. Okay. Well, yeah,
Whatever,
we're
never
a
mind.
mess. No, go.
I was just going to say, because it's quarantine, most people are probably a lot of video games. And so then because Tenet hasn't changed its release schedule, you got to get that hype back up for it, you know, like the general audience.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's a bad idea. It's kind of funny. That it's
It is
Yeah,
fun.
no,
hey,
definitely
5-year-olds, go see this R-rated movie.
Is it R?
It's gonna be
I thought it was PG-13.
No, it's not. It's
It's
PG-13.
PG-13, really?
Yeah.
But
Dude, every
Christopher
Nolan
movies
movie,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, not his early stuff. Memento is rated R.
Yeah, Memento definitely makes
But
sense.
like most of his. Like,
Oh yeah, it was
blockbusters-
super controversial that Dark Knight was PG-13. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, to be honest,
yeah.
there's a lot of scenes in The Dark Knight that he
No, for sure.
he edited them so perfectly to like get PG-13. Like the magic trick. If like you actually got to see the magic trick, it would have been immediately rated R.
Yeah.
No. I mean, great film though. There's no arguing that part. Yeah, I mean, guess I'm playing some Fortnite tonight, boys. Yeah. I mean, okay.
That's crazy.
Totally off topic, but what Fortnite's actually done for kids, it's actually really impressive, right? Because they've given kids like the ability to like take their favorite game and play with like Star Wars characters or see their favorite musical artists perform. That's crazy impressive. I don't like Fortnite, but
I don't either.
they've
I've never
done
played
some impressive stuff.
The Travis Scott concert was really, really cool though.
Yeah,
It was
no, I
really,
watched
really
that.
cool.
That was actually fucking crazy cool.
It is the highest like amount of people in a live event on a video game ever. It got like I think it was like 50 million players to log on to do that. It was insane, dude.
Wow.
Like it broke so many records. So again, they also had that weird Star Wars event where like again, this is on topic.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to hear the Emperor's message he sent out, because in the opening crawl for Rise of Skywalker, it says the dead speak. So you actually get to hear the Emperor's message, but you can only hear it in Fortnite. You know how weird that is?
That was like an incredibly weird thing.
I mean,
and because I think like that came out like before the actual movie, and then after the movie, there were so many press releases with like extra information, and I don't know.
Oh, okay, I know what you guys are talking about now. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, so like the live event in Fortnite, you got to hear like the Emperor's message to the galaxy. And I'm like, why wasn't this in the movie, by the way? Because I'm pretty sure this is pretty important information that, again, I don't even want to talk about that movie, but again.
Because we need it in Fortnite, damn it. God damn, dude. How else were they going to sign that deal with Epic Games? The gods of the world right now.
They are.
All right. I didn't know that there was a Tenet trailer dropping tonight, though. That's pretty cool.
I heard about it. I just didn't know it was Fortnite.
In Fortnite.
So before this, I talked a little bit about Jamie Lee Curtis doing something new, right? And it's not acting. She's actually directing a horror movie, also writing for Blumhouse about climate change.
I'm in.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm in.
No, that sounds awful already.
Yeah.
I'm in.
A climate change horror movie?
Sorry,
directed
boys.
by someone with no directing credits or writing credits.
Sorry, boys.
That's
Jamie
not
Lee.
surprising.
Blumhouse.
I love Jamie Lee. I'm in. I'm seeing it.
I mean, I'll definitely see it.
Okay,
I'm
will you though?
skeptical, however.
I don't think it'll be bad in the way that you're expecting it to be bad, Thomas. Because I feel like a lot of movies like that end up being like Geostorm, where it's just kind of like way too over the top. And if it's Blumhouse, I feel like it's going to have to be the opposite, you know? So it might be bad. I mean, it's impossible to tell.
I don't know. I'm definitely not looking forward to it, but I'll see it with curiosity.
I'm just trying to think
It's
of
2021,
like a climate
though,
change related
so we got a while.
horror film.
Yeah, like what? Okay, like honestly, I love Jamie Lee. I think Jamie Lee is capable of making a movie. I'm just gonna say it. I think she's totally capable,
Sure.
but
I
I think her topic is a little vague. I mean, how are you gonna? Yeah, I'm just wondering how the whole concept's gonna come to fruition.
Yeah.
What if
just
it's
because
like-
it's about
Boys.
climate change? It doesn't have to be
Boys.
like, you know.
The Happening sequel. Climate change is sentient.
What if it's like Waterworld, but with like horror? You know, like
I'm down.
We're moving off this topic. We're moving
Yeah.
off. All right, and then the other thing I have, this is my last part for the news segment, is that Denis Villeneuve, I don't know if that's how you're supposed to pronounce
Denis
it.
Villeneuve.
Oh, huh. He spent a year perfecting the sandworm design for Dune.
A
I
year?
mean,
Well, like, he had his own vision. He spent like a year just making sure it was perfect for him.
okay.
I don't know, it's pretty cool.
That sounds a little maybe like a bullshit media statistics. Like, he spent a year on the sandworm. I don't know. I mean, like, it's impossible to... Like, what does that even mean?
Well, I mean, like, I've
His
seen,
design.
like, the Lynch Dune flip, right? And the sandworm in that just looks bland and boring.
It's pretty,
So
it's pretty
like,
cool, though. And I actually
I
think
understand
that it
the
took a
scope
lot of
and
time
scale.
to make those, yeah.
It's definitely cool, but, like, in a overreaching sense, I guess, it's very the same, right? It's very bland. It's just big. So I'm definitely excited to see him, like, you know, make his own take on it.
I'm really excited for Dune. I think Dune is probably going to be my favorite movie of the year. It comes out this year. Is it next year?
Well, it's supposed to be this year, but...
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was supposed to come out this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
December.
they might push it back, but who knows?
we'll
it
see.
was probably going to be my movie of the year, most likely.
I mean, yeah.
I know it's going to be a masterpiece. Like, it looks phenomenal. Just from the shots I've seen, like, it looks wonderful. I'm so excited.
But
Looks
did you
like
ever
it's
see
gonna be interesting.
Bloodshot?
Actually, I really wanted to.
Hey,
Yeah.
did any of us ever see I Still Believe?
No.
Case in point.
Okay.
Like, it really sucks because I know we wanted to go see Bloodshot, and then everything happened, and then Bloodshot actually kind of got screwed over. Like, I know it wasn't going to be like a box office hit or anything, but like, just how everything happened, I feel pretty bad because that movie was doomed.
I mean, it still went to VOD, and it got a lot of people before we closed. So I wonder what the budget versus box office for it was. I'm looking that up.
It was probably low.
45 million budget.
Oh, wow.
And
It's
then
less than I thought it was.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was
30
more than
million
that.
box office, but I don't know if that's counting VOD release.
Probably not. If it says box office.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean, you're just on Wikipedia.
yeah,
whatever,
I
it doesn't
just looked it up real quick.
It's probably
All
not
right.
going to make much more than that.
Anyone else have stuff for the news segment?
I actually had a couple more things. First one was David Robert Mitchell, who directed It Follows.
Yeah.
Relate.
Oh, I saw something.
His new movie has been announced. It's in development. It's supposed to be a different take on a superhero movie.
Yeah, I did remember seeing.
I just think that might be interesting with his direction and style.
I mean, with his direction, it certainly could be.
Yeah.
you know what that like? I doubt it's going to be like, but I honestly love Super by James Gunn.
Yeah,
I think that movie's excellent. So
It's weird. It's a weird
high
one.
hopes. Yeah, high hopes for that. That sounds pretty interesting.
And then the other thing was there's this I've heard of this circulating the internet a little bit. There's this guy, he's a Ukrainian filmmaker. He made a movie like in his house over quarantine. It's a short film, but it's gained a lot of buzz. And it's supposed to come out sometime this summer. It's called Apple Man. It's like a crazy sci-fi superhero epic. And he's like marketing it as like the movie made during quarantine for only $1. And look up the trailer; it's like insane.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's called Apple Man. It looks ridiculous, but I mean, I want to see it.
Hey, yeah, I'll definitely watch it too.
Yeah.
Shoot, we have to restart here in a second. We could restart now. We all watch the Appleman trailer and come back.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, sure. We'll watch the Appleman trailer, then we'll come
All right, but
All right, Appleman.
Your cheese is like no. Your world is like cheese on my burger. So good. So many iconic lines already. You can count the seeds in an apple, but you can't count the apples in a seed.
I'm hoping it's not a troll. I'm hoping it's not just like a trailer he made, like a mock trailer, because that's what I got from it.
Even if it's a
seemed like a
mock trailer, it's fucking hilarious. I'm happy with that.
I mean, I hope it is some sort of little short film because I mean, like, you could tell like a lot of effort and work was put into it. It looks pretty good for having spent $1. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he did most of the work himself or with like a couple of other friends.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, I
so
think
much like time on his hands.
it looks like he played every character.
It feels like a way lower budget Kung Fury too.
Yeah,
like way lower. I love that movie too.
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, do we have anything else to say about it? I don't know.
I guess not really.
Not really.
Yeah, not
It
really.
looks like the surrealist comedy I need right now. To be
It
honest.
just looks fun. It just looks like a
Check it
Yeah.
out.
I mean, it definitely does. I don't think that I'm gonna watch it honestly, but you know.
I don't know. I might not watch it if it's like 2 hours long, but if it's like Kung Fury in just like an hour, you know, get a quick smile, have like a little hour of your day, boy,
Do
did
we have
real
any other
quick.
news?
I don't know. I think we're good.
I think we're good on news. Who wants
All right.
to start off with what they watched this week?
Noah?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Because last time I mentioned Third Man, so okay. And then the next thing I watched after last week's recording was Amistad, which is Spielberg's 1997 movie about slavery. It's fine. It's really not great, but it's better than I expected at least. It has, I believe, Jimin Hansu and Chiwetel Ejiofor, which I always stumble. Morgan Freeman and Matthew McConaughey. Anthony Hopkins. I mean, like every Spielberg movie, you can pretty much just keep listing cast members, and it would, keep getting larger and larger. But I mean, honestly, not really worth checking out unless you want to watch all of Spielberg's movies, which is basically the reason.
How far are you into that?
Well, I'm watching them very out of order, but I think, because he has like a lot of movies. I believe he has 32. Yeah, I think he has 32 if you don't count any of his TV movies. And I've seen 23 of them. So I'm definitely farther along than most people. But I mean, I still have like 8 or 9 movies left. So.
That's a lot of Spielberg. Have you not seen any like the really big ones, or have you finished out?
So actually, I haven't
names?
seen E.T. and Schindler's List are the only like really big ones that I haven't seen. And then I feel like there's another one. Oh, The Color Purple, which isn't as big. But...
Yeah, but it's definitely a film where if you say it, most people will recognize and know about it.
And then most of the other ones, like nobody's ever heard of, like War Horse, Always, 1941.
Hey, I heard of War Horse.
I've heard of those.
I mean, more
you guys have obviously heard of them.
I actually saw E.T. and Schindler's List both in theaters.
I would love to see Schindler's List.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say, because they keep replaying.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, I'm just like...
I was really confused. I was like, wait. Okay, and then after that, I watched The Departed, which I haven't seen a lot of Scorsese. I've seen Taxi Driver, The Irishman, and Goodfellas, and I think that's it. And I guess I think I've seen Hugo, but not like recently enough to remember anything about it.
We've practically seen the same 5.
Okay, great. Wow. Departed is my favorite so far. I don't know. It's good. I mean, all of them are good that I've seen. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about it because, it's a good movie.
It's good.
And then...
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
That's some of my favorite performances of a Scorsese film.
Nicholson is...
He's peak Nicholson in that, He's just going off the walls.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the last movie he did before he retired?
No, far from it.
Yeah. Like, As Good as It Gets is, I think, the last movie he did in 2010. So, I mean, it's been a while.
Really? As Good as It Gets was a lot older.
No, sorry. Not As Good as It Gets. I'll Do Anything.
There we go.
Or How Do You Know? How Do You Know? The other James L. Brooks movie. Okay. How Do You Know in 2010? Yeah.
Isn't Anger Management also after The Departed?
Probably. I don't know. I'm pretty sure.
We all forget about that, though.
Yeah. I think How Do You Know was his last, like, big role, and it's only because, like, he likes James L. Brooks.
No. Anger Management was a lot before Departed. I have a skewed sense of time.
Nicholson. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, this is a tangent, but actually, no, I'm not going to go on that tangent. After The Departed, I watched All That Jazz, which is a musical directed by Bob Fosse, which I think Colin has seen, and I don't think the other two of you have heard of.
Yeah, I watched it in editing class.
Right. Okay. I mean, I like it a lot, but I like most musicals that I see, so I don't know.
I like a good musical. I just didn't really. I wasn't really connected to it when I was watching. I think I'd like to see it again.
Is the editing good?
Editing's great.
The editing is really good, yeah.
Dude,
really
editing
good.
in jazz films are insane. I mean, just the way they can like interact with the punches of like all the beats of the instrument because of how layered jazz is. It's impressive.
I guess. I mean, it's not really a jazz movie.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a jazz movie.
Yeah, it's not.
Huh.
All
I
that
just assumed.
it's more of the that like phrase, all that jazz.
Yeah. Because all that
okay.
jazz. Okay. So to get like really into the backstory, Bob Fosse is the person who directed it in 1979. In 1973, maybe like 74, 75, he was simultaneously running the stage show for Chicago, the musical,
Yeah.
and writing and directing Beret, which he was doing at the same time. So the title, All That Jazz, is from a song in Chicago. And it's like the movie All That Jazz is semi-autobiographical. It's not like exactly the same thing, but the main character is writing a film and directing it and like editing it and all that stuff, and putting on a stage musical at the same time. So yeah,
That's neat.
it's interesting. Okay. And then I rewatched Happy Feet, which you guys have definitely talked about before. I think I like that movie better than anyone here, but I still don't think it's a good movie. I just don't think it's like, yeah, right. I don't hate it. And I don't know. I mean, I've been watching, so other than that, I have George Miller has only really done like 9 movies. I think I talked about this last week.
It's strange.
Yeah, we talked about Bays.
His repertoire.
Right, yeah.
He has the weirdest filmography.
But the only ones that it's weird. The only ones I haven't seen at this point are his medical drama, Lorenzo's Oil, and Happy Feet 2, which I don't even think I've seen Happy Feet 2 like originally.
I never saw it either. Happy Feet 1 was enough for me.
Yeah.
I think I did see it, but just because my parents were like, why not?
Yeah, no, like I would expect to have done that, but like I have no memory of it whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I looked at a brief plot synopsis and I was like, I don't remember this.
Doesn't he learn how to sing in it? Isn't that the big thing of Happy Feet 2?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't read like a
Damn it.
in-depth.
Okay.
Well, like I know it's about his son, and he might also have an arc in it, but yeah, I don't know.
Let me see.
I mean, do we have to?
You can
Okay.
keep going.
Okay, and then I watched It's Complicated, which is a Nancy Meyers rom-com who did The Parent Trap, and why am I blanking on the other ones? All of her names have very generic rom-com-y titles, like The Holiday, What Women Want, It's Complicated, which I watched, and Something's Gotta Give, are all very like it doesn't tell you anything, so it's very easy to forget the titles at least. So It's Complicated, not great. I mean, it has Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin, who are all good. I mean, like it's not just kind of like exactly what you would expect from a mid-2000s rom-com.
Why in specific did you choose to watch this one?
I mean, I like most of her other movies to an extent, and she is sort of, I mean, she's not like a big name director, but I'd say like in the very specific genre that she does, she's probably like the top of like mid-2000s rom-com, at least in my mind.
Hey, she did make the Parent Trap, which is peak cinema.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do actually like that movie. I don't know if you were being.
No, I don't
really
think it's. I don't think it's awful. It's been a while since I've seen it too.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think it's great or anything, and it's not her best movie. But I mean, I don't dislike it. I think it's good. And then I rewatched Moonstruck, which is kind of weird. I mean, I guess it's not that weird. Whatever. I don't know. Okay, so it's a Cher, Nicolas Cage rom-com.
What a pairing! What a pairing!
Really?
Yeah, it is a great pairing. So like I said, this was a rewatch, and I mean, like it's a perfect movie. I don't know. There are a lot of movies. Well, no, there aren't a lot of movies, but this is one of them that are just so good that it's like, and so simple in a way that it's just kind of hard to talk about why they're good. It's just like it's a rom-com, and it's really good at being a rom-com.
It just works for you. Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly.
It makes you smile, right?
Yeah, and
It takes you away from the struggles of your life and transforms you.
Yeah.
Transports
I mean,
you
but
into
there are
like
definitely
film.
movies that I can talk a lot more about why I like. But this is just like, I mean, it's well written, it's well directed, it's well acted. It gave Cher her Oscar, which is well deserved. And yeah, I mean, Nick Cage is giving like an equally good performance to Cher, who's I mean, it's great. Okay, and then I watched Knocked Up, which I think is my first Judd Apatow directed movie that I've actually seen. Although I've seen a few of his produced movies. I think it's good. I don't know. Again, it's another rom-com that's like good. It's not really great, I guess.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't really have a lot to say about that. And then Men in Black, which I rewatched. I haven't seen that one in like 4 years. I don't really remember because I have a decent memory of it, but I didn't remember it that well. I think it's funny still. I think it's pretty good. Again, not a lot to say about that. And then I rewatched. Okay, I'm gonna cut. Oh, actually, I guess we talked about Big Fish, or we're gonna talk about Big Fish, so I'm not gonna cut that. Okay, so I rewatched Stop Making Sense, a Talking Heads concert film, which is one of my favorite movies ever made. I mean, it's like a concert film, so whenever I say like one of the greatest movies, it's like, well, it's a concert film, so I need to find that. But I mean, I'd recommend watching it. It's free on YouTube, so just check it out if you want.
I believe it's on Amazon Prime as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's on YouTube, so if you have YouTube.
Yeah.
It's really highly rated too. Like,
Yeah,
so
I think
many
it's
people just adore it.
Yeah.
Because it's a good movie. It's a great movie. Yeah.
I'll probably watch it this week. Find the time.
Well, I mean, you've said that before, Thomas. Well, okay, maybe not, but still.
No, I
continue to watch
think
it
I've
for
said
like
those
months.
exact words before.
Okay. And I mean, the one thing I'll say about that, I wasn't really that familiar with Talking Head, which was like a couple of months ago at this point, for the first time, obviously. Because like their main hits like Psycho Killer and Burning Down the House are probably like their two greatest known songs, and those are both in there. But there's a lot of other stuff in there that isn't from those, but I'd say it definitely draws you in, even if you're not like a Talking Heads fan at all. So it's good. And then Big Fish, which we're going to talk about, and I rewatched 20th Century Week, so I'm not really going to go into that a lot. But I mean, it's one of my favorite movies now on the first rewatch, second watch. I mean, it still holds up. Pretty much everything I said about it last week. And that's it.
All right.
Sebastian, you want to...
Is that what you've watched this week, Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Colin, your turn. All right, Sebastian.
All right, so I'll get into it. Again, I haven't had a lot of time this week, but I had a little more time than I did last week, and I'd like to talk about this at some point down the podcast, but I watched Scoob. And
You did?
You did.
it is a colossal disaster.
That's what I was expecting.
It is
Yeah.
just I'm not going to go into it too much because I'd like to talk about it at some point, but it is just I have almost no words to say about it because it is just so bad. It is so bad. It's
Did you grow up with Scooby-Doo?
yes, I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan.
So did I too. I'm really excited to watch it in a sense
Shouldn't it be?
for me to just understand what they did wrong because I've seen so many.
They did a lot wrong.
I heard the main problem with it is it's just so modern. And
Yeah.
It's boring. It's super boring. I was bored.
Yeah.
And like they tried making it like a superhero movie at like the second half of the movie, and I just didn't care. I just literally, I'm serious. I usually remember some movies like a couple days after the watch them. I don't even remember Scoob. It was that forgettable. Like I could not tell you a thing about it. It was that bad. I just completely blacked out on it. So anyway, Scoob, really awful. I'd like to talk about it at some point because it's pretty unprecedented for animated movies, especially with a huge IP. To be that bad. So
I mean,
yeah.
I disagree. I think it's usually president for them to
And
be.
especially for Scooby-Doo.
Well, I mean, for
there are a
Scooby-Doo.
lot of
For Scooby-Doo.
But
I mean,
I've
not
seen
even
I've
necessarily
seen
to
all
be
of
like-
it.
it's just become a disconnect from like the audience at this point.
Yeah,
Or
but
not even a
see-
disconnect. It's been a more reaching for like the children, you know.
But my thing with Scooby-Doo is I'm a pretty big Scooby-Doo fan. I've watched all the shows. I liked Mystery Incorporated, which was like on I think like 2010.
Yeah.
I really liked that show. It was like a really different direction.
That'd be the
for
main one
Scooby-Doo.
I grew up with too. I liked it a lot.
No. It was
Oh
did you
no,
watch that? No,
Mystery
it was
Incorporated.
it was the
I'd be
newer
watching
one.
What's New when I was.
Yeah,
growing
because
up, too.
I
Yeah,
love
what's new
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But
What's
yeah.
New
Dude,
Yeah,
Simple
great
Plan
theme
with
song.
the theme song.
Hell yeah, dog.
But like
They're
Mystery
2000s.
Incorporated like took Scooby-Doo like in a pretty different direction, and it like gave like an origin and like everything to Scooby-Doo. And it had this like an overarching like story for the whole season, and it only got like one season. It was really good.
I watched some stuff about it, and it actually looked really interesting.
It was really
like
good.
A more mature. It looked like a Gravity Falls kind of approach.
No, it was
to Scooby-Doo,
yeah,
and I
really
love
good.
Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is one of my
good.
favorite shows ever. Period.
And then a lot of the Scooby-Doo movies that came out were a lot of them like I think are really good, like Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase or whatever the hell that one was called. Like a lot of them were straight to like VOD or like straight to DVD.
That was like in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I'll never shut up about this, but the straight to DVD Scooby-Doo movies are amazing. I mean,
yeah, it's what I'm saying.
Zombie Island,
Cyber
Curse
Chase.
of the Witch, Cyber Chase, and I mean, honestly, I even kind of dig the Texas one where they Texas like Mexico border with the aliens. I think it's
yeah.
It's definitely the worst
like
out of them.
UFO or something. I don't
Something
know.
like that.
I know what you're talking
It's
about.
definitely
but like,
easily the worst out of them, but it's honestly not awful.
That's what I'm
still
saying.
Keeps that Scooby-Doo charm.
So like all those are really good, and I've liked what they've done with Scooby-Doo in terms of like television shows. And then here's this giant stinker. Like I don't get how they. Yeah,
I want to bring this up when we're talking about Big Fish, but it's just been this disconnect, or not even disconnect. It's been this change of children's programming. Because even though Big Fish is rated PG-13, I still consider it more of a children's film. Because it's, based on like fairy tale stories. It's like very magical.
Yeah.
It's been this disconnect where you look at something like Big Fish and you look at something like even Sonic or the Emoji Movie, where it's just, hey, look at this offshoot joke that's only relevant to the times.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's what I said by so modern for Scoob.
Mm-hmm.
No,
like,
there's
these movies
a lot of
automatically
really
date
jokes.
themselves.
Yeah, there's a really lot of awkward jokes, and it's also very incoherent. But anyway, I just wanted to mention it. I thought it was awful. I'd like to just move on from it because I want you guys to see it, but it's bad.
My mom actually watched it. She's a big Scooby-Doo fan. She thought it was like had its cute moments, but she was like nothing special.
Anyway, so I finally got around to this, and it's something I've been wanting to watch for a while. I watched the extended cut of Hateful Eight on Netflix, the 4-hour cut,
it's long.
And I loved it. I thought it was absolutely excellent. And I mean, not really much to say there. I'm a big Tarantino fan. So just getting to see more Tarantino that I hadn't really watched, I thought was really, really good. So that was an easy, I thought it was fantastic. 5 stars. I loved it. I think the Hateful Eight's great, personally. So that was really good. I watched Pulp Fiction again with my girlfriend because she hadn't watched it yet. So I showed it to her, and she thought it was pretty weird and interesting. So, that was good. So
you seem a little disappointed.
But it's weird and interesting, good.
Yeah. She liked it. She was just making fun of me because she's like, "Oh, every film major has a Pulp Fiction poster on their wall." I'm like, "You're about right," because I got mine right there. So we watched that, and that was a good time. And again, I mean, it's just a masterpiece in my opinion. So I mean, every time I watch it, I'm entertained the whole way through. So I mean. Yeah.
I definitely think it did some revolutionary stuff. I think I even rated it a little too high for my personal enjoyment of it. And I respect people that really think of it as like one of the best ones of all time. But I think it might be a little overrated.
I mean, that's an argument. I mean, it's a valid argument. I think it's definitely, you could definitely perceive it as overrated, but I just think with a movie of its caliber, I'd never, ever get bored of watching it. I have seen it probably 40 plus times at this point, and I've never gotten bored of it. It's just, there's something about it. I cannot explain to you why, but it's just, I'm always entertained every time I watch it. And I always laugh at the same jokes. I always love the same, it's just iconic. I don't know, man. Anyway, so Pulp Fiction, Hateful Eight, Scoob, and oh god, there was one other movie I watched besides Big Fish.
Okay. I want to make sure you weren't forgetting about that.
No. Oh, of course, I watched Big Fish.
Yeah, I know. You sent me a snap of it. You're like doing it.
I was like, yeah, sure. I watched Back to the Future. Yeah. I felt like it, man. I was just like, you know what? I just need something to throw on while I do some stuff and watch Back to the Future. And Honestly, it was better than I remembered because it had been a while since I had watched it, and I love that movie. It's great. I mean, I have the poster on my wall. It's one of my favorite movies, but I have not watched Back to the Future besides that, and I haven't watched it in about like 4 or 5 years. So I'm gonna rewatch the whole trilogy and see how it holds up. But
So
that's one of those trilogies I've never seen.
Even the first one?
I've only seen.
You know what?
I've seen clips from each movie, but I've never seen the whole.
I thought you were gonna say I've only seen the first one. You've never seen the first Back to the Future?
No, I've never seen any of them.
Wow,
all the way through.
They're so good.
I mean, that makes sense. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it's been forever
Thanks,
since I've seen 2 and 3.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty good.
I mean,
I know they are.
They're definitely on the watch list.
That's shocking, Colin. I would have thought you'd seen the first one, dude.
Well, I guess that's true. I mean, you've definitely seen a lot of movies, so
yeah,
I guess
exactly.
It's a little surprising, but I don't know.
That's for me. That's a little surprising. I mean, I would have thought out of like everyone, like
I mean, it's a big thing of childhood, right? Because that's definitely one of those series or franchises where it's just like, did your dad like it? Yes, no. Did you watch it growing up? Yes, no. Do you have a serious attachment to it? Right? I mean, so I'm guessing your dad didn't have a serious attachment to the Back to the Future.
I don't think so.
So, I mean, like, there's definitely films like that. It took me forever to see The Shining, or, I mean, in Sebastian's place, when he was a kid, he saw Clerks really young, right? So I didn't see Clerks when I was young. I mean,
thanks, Mom.
Stuff like that. It's just, if adults are like, this movie good, watch it.
But yeah, anyway, so highly recommend watching Back to the Future, Colin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, they're on the watch list.
It did a lot for time travel movies. I mean, that is like the quintessential like time travel movie. So, I mean, in my opinion, that's the quintessential time travel movie. I think that's fair to say. That's like the OG. But anyway, so that's what I watched this week. Nothing too crazy. Haven't liked. I did start watching Twin Peaks a little more. I think I got like one more episode in deep, but that's about it. So on to whoever wants to talk next.
Colin, finish this little square.
What did you go?
No. Well, I don't know if it's different orientation for us, but it's Noah, Sebastian, Colin. Oh, is it?
Oh, okay.
Well,
sorry,
I went first last week.
I'll go. So, if you guys been paying attention to my Letterboxd diary, I've had a bit of a meme week, honestly, and it was strange. It's been a lot of fun, honestly. I actually have a list of movies to watch this week that are even more, even more.
Why?
I'm just having some fun, just having some fun. So I started off this week with the first feature film Lego movie, The Adventures of Clutch Powers.
Hell yeah.
And it was so bad.
The fuck? What did you say?
I know, Thomas, you're going to hate me for this entire rundown, but yeah, unfortunately, I did not like The Adventures of Clutch Powers.
What did you rate it? 2.5?
Half star.
2? Half star? For Clutch Powers?
That's what I gave Scoob.
Oh, really? Oh,
no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's just, it has a cold open, which is a little fun. It has a little bit of a charm to it. And then after that, it was like 10 to 15 minutes in, I want it to be over. And it's only 80 minutes.
You think it's fun because it has a cold open?
I mean, like the cold open was the most fun part about it. And I was like, okay, maybe this could be cool. But then, no, of course it wasn't. And so after Clutch Powers, I went on to, okay, this isn't really like a bad movie, but I think it's kind of an underrated movie. Hoodwinked.
Yeah, I actually liked Hoodwinked.
Pretty good.
I think if the animation was better, because it legitimately has some of the most awful animation ever.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're worse than Toy Story 1, right? It's saying something.
Toy Story 1? I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Oh, it is.
It's definitely worse.
I watched it like last year.
Okay.
And it's worse. It's way worse.
Yeah. The animation is awful. But I mean, the cool thing about Hoodwinked is it was, I think, the first computer animated, independently financed movie. So it had a really low budget. but I mean, like the script is really good, and the premise,
Yeah, it actually
it's really fun,
pretty
and
solid.
the way it plays with like genre tropes and stuff is pretty unique, and it's a fun movie. It's like generally one that always makes me laugh whenever I watch it. And so then after Hoodwinked, which is honestly underrated film, I decided to rewatch RV, and honestly, it's not as bad. Not as bad.
I don't know what it is. Sebastian obviously does.
Well, okay.
Me and Colin, I went to Colin's apartment, and it was just sitting there, and he was like, oh man, I gotta rewatch that movie or something. And we were talking about it. We were talking about it for some reason. We were like,
so this is what happened. I was gonna rewatch Green Lantern a while ago.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because my roommate brought the Blu-ray home, and I opened it. RV was inside, and I was like,
oh man.
So I was disappointed I couldn't watch Green Lantern, of course. But then I remembered I have the DVD of RV, so I was just like, I'll just watch RV, and I mean, it's fun. It does what it needs to do. Some of the jokes aren't.
Okay. I vaguely remember, wasn't there like a shit scene with like a toilet?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen the movie in like a decade, dude.
They're at the sewage area of the RV park because their sewage just got backed up, and they're trying to empty it out, and there's just so much, and it explodes. And
that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But I mean, honestly, it did make me laugh quite a bit. I thought the chemistry between the cast was pretty good. I mean, it does what it is. Will Arnett is like the villain of the movie, and Will Arnett's always good at playing the Will Arnett character. So that was fun. Also, a little bit of trivia. The actress who plays the mother in RV, Cheryl Hines, is the aunt of one of the guys I played baseball with in high school. And she came to one of our games once, which is pretty cool.
So you're gonna be a big movie star soon, huh? You got the connections.
I got the connections.
Superstar of RV.
Please tell me you like recognized her because you said it was a rewatch. So did you know? Were you like, you?
Oh, well, I knew. I knew before. I already knew that because she came to one of our baseball games.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So after RV, which was honestly better than I thought it was going to be, I decided to rewatch another childhood favorite, Kermit Swamp Years. It's considered the worst of the Muppet canon, and I would definitely agree. It's really bad. I mean,
I haven't seen it, but I mean, every other Muppet movie to an extent is either good or like mediocre at the worst.
Yeah. I mean, this one has like charm to it, and I think it's mostly nostalgia based because my brother and I used to watch this like all the time. But it's not even like how childish it is at times, because this is definitely like the more like child targeted of the Muppets films. But just the filmmaking in general is not good. I swear the only editing technique this movie knows is a dissolve or a fade.
So like the Star Wars cuts.
Yeah, except like it's just all the time, and you're like, oh my gosh, they'll know just how to straight cut or anything. But then the other
speaking of dude, did you guys hear about? I off topic and sorry to cut you off. But did you guys hear about the really awkward? I think we're getting another Muppet stinker. So on Disney Plus, we're getting an exclusive quarantine Muppets unscripted show or special. It's unscripted.
So it's like Muppet Improv.
Yes.
I mean that could be good. I think the main detractor in that is like the quarantine thing. I don't think it's the improv or the Muppets part.
I'm not excited for it, but anyway.
I mean, I'm not either. But,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
But honestly, what I was going to say, like, I think the worst part of Kermit Swamp Years is the cinematography, because every shot, how it's framed, and the composition, it's so obviously trying to block out that they're using puppets, but like the budget isn't good enough to like digitally remove it in post or something like that. So you have these huge wides with little heads of frogs kind of like hopping along down here, and with just so much dead space, and it's so bad. But honestly, the movie's enjoyable. It has some funny jokes, and the cast who does the like voice work for the frogs, like Kermit and his pals, is pretty good. Like the characters are likable, but it's just a bad movie. And then after that, I decided to rewatch the Crocodile Hunter movie, Collision Course. Look, Thomas is trying to compose himself because he's trying not to lash out at me. But it was really bad. Thomas is gone. He's had enough. Have any of you guys actually?
I don't think it's coming back.
Have any?
Wait, what?
No,
Which
I have
movie?
not seen it.
It's
Which
the
movie?
Crocodile Hunter movie, Collision Course.
I have not, but I maybe if I saw it, I would reminisce from childhood because I might have seen it as a kid, but I don't remember.
I can grab the. Did you recognize it?
Yes, I have seen that, but I could not tell you like when I saw it as a child.
Yeah, I mean, so like, I used to love the Crocodile Hunter, right? He was like an idol
Yeah.
for me, and so I was just like, I'm gonna rewatch this. Haven't seen it in a while, and it's so bad. It's nothing makes sense. The plot is all over the place.
So is it like a movie or is it like? Well, obviously it's a movie, but like, is it like a? Okay, is it like more of like a documentary style, or is it like a ridiculous like?
So there are two narrative strands that like intertwine throughout the movie and then come together. There's like the cliched 2000s military themed narrative. Like there's a satellite and something falls from the satellite that holds super secret intelligence information, and it lands in Australia and a crocodile eats it. And so then simultaneously, Steve Irwin and his wife has a film crew that is following them through the outback, shooting a documentary on like Australia's animals. The plot strand that connects the two is like this crocodile that ate the satellite thing is like terrorizing this rancher's cattle. And so they call in Steve Irwin and his wife to get the crocodile and relocate it. And then they find out, well, it ate this like CIA thing. And so there's CIA after them. It's ridiculous. It's honestly.
Yeah, it sounds not great.
Because
I'm speechless.
Like, because the core narrative is so cliche and dumb anyway, but then the documentary, how the documentary is like framed throughout doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense anyway. Yeah, it's just really bad. It's just really bad. I did not enjoy watching it. I think the only good part about it was watching Steve Irwin do his thing.
All right, we have like 30 seconds left on this call.
Yeah.
So.
I just wanted to finish that up, so I'll
You really ranted about my favorite fucking film.
All right, we'll be back in a bit. And so, yeah, after Collision Course, I checked out Big Fish. And then I capped off the week with a few short films. The new David Lynch movie, or short film, Fire. Then I watched two of Yorgos Lanthimos' films, Necktie and Nimic.
Oh, right, you watched two? I saw one of them. Did you watch them back to back?
Yeah. So I watched
Yeah.
Fire, Necktie, and Nimic all back to back.
Yeah, I saw your review of Fire, but I missed the Nimic one.
It was interesting. I mean, Yorgos Lanthimos is definitely an interesting filmmaker. I liked both of those short films better than Fire. Do you want to talk about
Fire? Was pretty awful, just in general.
See, I didn't.
I
think
thought
it
the
was
only
awful.
thing really, like, some of the imagery was fine, but it was just like, oh, look at this kind of scary picture. The music was good. It was a good composition.
I
That was the only thing
I
that
like
really
the score.
got me.
And I'm a big fan of Lynch's animation and his just art in general. There's a really good documentary called David Lynch: The Art Life, which kind of shows he does a lot more than just movies and sound and stuff. And his art's really interesting. I mean, it's really dark and kind of disturbing, but it's pretty cool to look at.
I'm gonna add that to the watch list. Sounds really interesting.
I know it's on Criterion.
Okay.
I don't know if it was on Amazon Prime for a little bit. I don't know if it is anymore.
Well, I will find out a way to watch it eventually, hopefully. All right. And so I guess that finishes off for you.
Yep, that was it. That was my week.
All right. So I started off this week with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which I definitely don't think it's a masterpiece, but I don't really think anyone does. But I really think Gene Wilder's performance is legitimately perfect. He is so brilliant in that film. It's beautiful. And I mean, the compositions, like the score and like the songs, are also really, really good. Definitely falters from very lackluster set design. I don't think they expected it to be as big as it was, so they definitely didn't put a big budget into it. But for how descriptive Roald Dahl's novels are and how magical and like kind of filled with a sense of wonder they are in general, for that time period, it definitely would have been incredibly hard to put together a set like that. But yeah, it's good. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Why not? I watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I think it fixes on some of the problems from the original, especially the production design. Tim Burton's style really works for a Wonka film, but it adds a slew of its own new problems. And I definitely think that it's worse. I don't think it's awful.
I love that movie.
I think the kids are too annoying, right? You don't need, like, obviously they're not meant to be, they're not meant to be the good guys, but you don't need pure, like, they're all the same note. They're all like, oh, this one's not nice.
You don't want to be like actively hating them throughout the movie to know they're bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They also play out too hard into their tropes. Like, you don't need the overweight kid like stuffing too much chocolate in his mouth and having his like face covered. Like, make him eat like well, at least, you know. Don't make him like totally awful. And I mean, one of the things about that film too is that Tim Burton is actually definitely not horrible. He tries his hardest, but he can't capture that same magic that Gene Wilder does. And I think Gene Wilder, even in the moments where it's just like, oh, I'm being weird and quirky, Tim Burton, like, I guess he's being too quirky. Where Gene Wilder,
talking about
Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
Oh no. Where Depp is he's being too silly, while Wilder was legitimately scary sometimes. And then it's also muddled. You guys have seen it, right?
Yeah, it's been such a long time.
I agree with what some of you are saying, Thomas, but I personally, this is a really unpopular opinion, I prefer the Burton version than the original.
Yeah.
Which I really have not seen.
I just love Tim Burton, and I just love his visual style. I think it's very, like, you know, it's very out there.
It's definitely the best part of a Burton film.
Yeah, that's why I personally like it a lot more than the original. I just like all the visual like aspects that just he brought to life, and it really feels like the book to me. And I honestly love Johnny Depp's performance. I think he's fantastic in that movie. I think, like, dude, I always say, "Good morning, sunshine." The earth says hello all the time, dude. Like, I love it.
It's definitely interesting, but like I was saying, I think he's trying to be too quirky. He's like,
I see it, yeah.
And he's definitely going for more of what the novel itself does. And even, I'll just say it straight out, it's a better representation of the Roald Dahl novel. But I think it's a much worse kids film. And I think that just the magic that Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, obviously it's really Wonka, but it's one super cool movie. The magic that captures and the magic that Gene Wilder captures, I think it puts it a step above that. And I also think the songs in Willy Wonka are way better, and it feels almost as if Tim Burton didn't really want to include the music. He just threw it in because he couldn't do like a one-off Oompa Loompa song, so you have to have a song for each kid. While the song in Willy Wonka feels so whole, it feels like a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's enough for that. I think maybe a little bit over analysis. But after that, I kind of continued a Burton binge, and, well, like a very small binge. And I watched Beetlejuice. Why am I slipping on names all the time? And it's great. It's really funny. Oh, maybe not great. But my main problem with Beetlejuice is that the titular character, easily the best part of the film, is in the film for 17 and a half minutes out of the 90-minute runtime. It's pretty crazy.
I feel like that happens in a lot more movies than you'd actually think of, you know?
Yeah, but a lot of the movie besides Michael Keaton's performance was kind of boring. None of the have that same comedic performance, and I won't say delivery, but they just weren't as funny in my opinion, right? And where Michael Keaton is literally hilarious.
I mean, but Michael Keaton is doing like a role that has like never been in any other movie before or since. So like, I don't know. I mean,
he also improv'd a lot of his lines too, which is really impressive.
Oh yeah, I feel like I did her. I don't know. I haven't seen Beetlejuice in a little while, but honestly, I feel like that's probably Tim Burton's best movie, which I'm assuming we'll probably get to talking to that a little more.
We'll definitely talk about that a little bit.
I haven't seen Beetlejuice. That's
that
another one I haven't seen in like forever. So
you have seen
I've seen it more recently, but not like recently enough.
I saw it not that long ago.
A lot of these were films that I watched as a child that I was like, oh, I'll see them again. I mean, even Big Fish, I watched freshman year because one of my friends loved it as a kid. I watched it sophomore year actually. But a lot of Burton I'd watched many times as a kid. I just haven't seen it in forever. Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, even Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Because when I rewatched both those films, I found myself like expecting scenes to come up, but I just like mixed scenes together. Like the squirrel scene, for whatever reason, I was like, this is gonna come up in Willy Wonka too, right? But I had vivid memory of that scene and vivid memory of other scenes from specifically Charlie or specifically Willy Wonka. Kind of off topic, but after that, I followed that up with Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I don't know, has everyone here seen it?
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. I think it touches on a subject that needs to be talked about more in film, right? I think mental illness is often underrepresented. And when it
Joker, baby.
Well, when it is represented, it's represented
bring it back
in a way that sometimes isn't like, because mental illness shows up in more than just poverty-stricken places, right? I mean, we can all talk about that. And I think this really talks about and brings up a necessary subject where it's like, yeah, you can kind of be sad, but having those friends around you is nice. And I really like that. I like its subject. But I hate Ezra Miller. not all too much, but he's kind of a dick. And I think sometimes his performance gets really annoying in this film. And there's like a moment where he could have really good character development, but they don't really take it to the point where it's kind of needed. Like I see it, but I kind of wish they did more with it. And it feels like so often throughout this film, there's unnecessary studio interference where they're like, okay, sure, you might have this cool passion project, but to make sure this does well in theaters, we have to get these 20-year-old kids to play as freshmen. Because
okay, come on, that's not a fair complaint. That happens all the time.
Yeah, but I wish it didn't.
Dude, look at 21 Jump Street. I think 21 Jump Street's hilarious. Well, I know that's the plot of the movie, but that's
unbelievable. That's why I think that Dazed and Confused is one of the best coming of age stories ever, because if the kids look like kids, it's believable.
Matthew McConaughey.
He's not.
He doesn't look
like 21.
He doesn't look like a kid in that movie, though.
He's not meant to be a kid. He's 21 years old. Or he's 22.
Is he? Oh, okay. I haven't seen it.
And the freshmen in that film are, I think, like 15. But that film felt like there was a lot of studio interference in it, where it was just, there's a lot of parts where like, why? Like there's so many parts, like I legitimately cried in the ending. And I also think the ending, they could have ended on literally the best mental illness representations in film that I've seen. Like there's 5 minutes in that film that I thought was beautiful, and then they drag it on for 7 minutes to have a narrated ending, and it's just studio interference is what it felt like to me.
I definitely like that movie a little more than you do, at least. But and this isn't really like a super valid counter argument. But honestly, I think a lot of the complaints that you have are like pretty much directly from the novel. So, which I mean is still fine, but I don't think it's really as much studio interference as much as they didn't really decide to change that much from the book.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
I mean, I think most
then-
of the differences are. Oh, sorry, but I think most of the differences are just. Well, I mean, I'm assuming you're going to talk about another movie. What was I saying? Oh yeah, most of the differences are from the movie are just like they cut some stuff out from the book. I mean, like I haven't seen the movie in a little while or read the book in a little while, but I have.
Well, you know the
consumed
line
both
at
of
the end, right? About the aunt.
The what?
He's in the mental ward, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Aunt." What was her name? It's Helen, right?
Doesn't matter. I don't know.
Where Aunt Helen did that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. You read the book, I'm guessing.
Yes, although I don't really remember it that well. So if there was a difference,
it was just a part that like kind of made me groan. That's what I'm kind of talking about. There were a lot of parts that felt just incredibly unnecessary, and just like I was saying, just parts where it was just this still needs to be a family film. And maybe if that was from the book, maybe that was just less my thing in general.
Yeah,
but
I think they explore it in the book a little bit more, but not like a lot more. So,
all right. Yeah, I definitely think it has problems, but like I said, I think it's a good film for today's time, at the very least. And then I followed that up with, did I watch anything for Edward Scissorhands? I don't think so. Yeah, that would be the next one. So I followed that with Edward Scissorhands, which I'd probably say is my second favorite out of Burton's films. And I will definitely say that was one that I watched as a kid, and it was my second favorite, but I don't really like Burton that much in general.
Me neither, but I don't know. We'll get to it.
It was one that I watched a lot maybe not even a lot as a kid, but I vividly remembered the ending to that film and barely anything else. So I was walking in expecting like a much darker movie, and that film has to take the cake for the most tone changes in a single movie fucking ever. It's crazy. But I mean, it's solid humor. I wouldn't call it great. I'd argue that's okay. Right? It's okay humor with a fucking fantastic ending. Like, the ending to that film, I think, is actually pretty spectacular. And I think it definitely showcases Burton's world building really well there. I definitely don't think it showcases Burton's world building as good as it does in Big Fish. But we will talk about that.
Really?
Speaking of Big Fish. Yeah. I mean, well, I guess it's just because there's more.
Wait. Do we want to transition now to Big Fish?
Yeah, the only other thing I watch is Fire, so let's talk about Big Fish. I loved Big Fish. It's not only like a great film in my opinion, but it's also easily my favorite Burton. By far, too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. I know I did. I forget if this was actually recorded last week, but I did say that Big Fish was my favorite Burton last week.
You said it was either your favorite or it was tied with
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I did. I remember saying that last week. After the rewatch, it went down a little bit, and this is only my second time watching it. The last time I watched it was like not that long ago. It was like 6 months ago, maybe. So, I mean, like I said earlier today, I think Beetlejuice is better, and I think Batman Returns is probably a little better, which I've also seen that pretty recently. But yeah, I mean, I like it.
I've actually only ever seen clips of the older Batman films. I've only seen the Dark Knight trilogy and a couple of
his Batman is pretty ridiculous, but it's near and dear to my heart.
Would it be like what you expect from a Burton Batman film?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Like knowing Burton's films and knowing how old Batman was.
Yeah, but it feels like the comic book, like the cheesiness of the comic book. That's why I like it so much, because I think Burton did a really good job in Batman, like just capturing how ridiculous like Batman was back in the day. And then of course I just love the soundtrack because it's Prince did the whole soundtrack. So.
Oh, did he? That's pretty dope. But we're getting off topic. Back to Big Fish. I just think there's such like a sense of magic in Big Fish, right? It kept me entertained the whole way through. I'm just like my heart felt lifted, you know? And that's kind of one reason I would consider it a children's film, even if it's PG-13. It's because it's something you can watch and you're just, it feels as if you wonder, you know? Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm a big Burton fan. You know, I'll say it. I grew up with Tim Burton. My mom's favorite movie is Nightmare Before Christmas. I know that's technically not a Burton movie, but
Henry Selick.
I mean, I think we all,
It's my mom's favorite. My mom's a huge Burton fan, so I grew up loving Tim Burton and Tim Burton movies. And Big Fish always, I liked it as a kid, but I didn't really understand it. And then kind of rewatching it now, I kind of appreciate it a lot more because it's such a special movie in my opinion. Like it has the weirdness of Tim Burton, but it also is very like serious at parts.
Mhm.
And the ending to the movie I think is just wonderful.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think it's
I think
All
I
right.
think everybody here thinks the ending is the best part of the movie, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like
But
that last 15
yeah.
to 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I think again the whole movie in my opinion is pretty great because again they have to build all of that to get to the ending. So I mean the rest of the movie is definitely like obviously good in my opinion because I mean without all the setup the ending would not have been as good and you wouldn't have felt like anything about the ending without like that whole the whole movie. And I just love all the characters. I love just the ridiculousness of it because it's a Burton movie with a lot of heart. That's why I like it so much because it's just got that weird like just in my opinion. But the reason I love Tim Burton so much is he's just got this like there's just no other director like Tim Burton. He's got this just really I can't even explain in words. He's just got this weird like just way of looking at things. And I think in Big Fish that's just definitely like I mean it's pretty evident and like just how like it's so ridiculous but it's so good.
I mean, Big Fish is definitely the least Burton of what I've seen at least. But you can still definitely tell, he's definitely a director where, and this is a huge compliment for any director ever, he's a director where you see one of his films and you're like, yeah, this is a Burton film, right? He has his own style that
And recurring actors and actresses that are like in every single one of his movies. But no, I really do. It's honestly just in my opinion, it's such a special film, man. Like I love everything about it. I think the score is great. I think honestly, Ian McGregor's really good.
I think he's great.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything.
I really agree with the score. Danny Elfman, man, great composer.
There's a reason he's a good composer,
Good
composer.
And I just love just the whole story of just this ridiculous man, and like his own son doesn't believe him, but everything he said was true. And I think that's what's so special about it.
Definitely like a children's version of Forrest Gump to an extent too.
Yes. You could compare it to Forrest Gump. You can compare it to Forrest Gump a lot.
But I mean, I could even argue that it's better, to be honest, and in some senses. Forrest Gump's also I like Forrest Gump a lot, but I wouldn't consider Forrest Gump a masterpiece. But
no, I wouldn't either. But I think this is definitely more easily accessible, I think, to children than Forrest Gump, obviously, because Forrest Gump has Vietnam and like all these like pretty heavy topics and things kids would
Forrest
not
Gump definitely
understand
isn't a children's film.
No.
That's why I said that Big Fish could be considered like a children's version.
It has that same sense of like wonder as Forrest Gump, because as ridiculous as Forrest Gump is, that's kind of what this movie has going right for it. It's like this, this guy, and he has this ridiculous, crazy stories about his life, and that's just this concept of the movie. And again, I don't know, man. I really do. I adore the movie. I think it's something really special. I'm really glad that most of you guys have enjoyed it, but I'd like to hear what Colin has to say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I still enjoyed it, but I think it's fair saying that I enjoyed it the least out of everyone here. Well, first of all, when it comes to Burton, I really haven't seen much. And since joining Letterboxd especially, I've only seen 3 of his films, 2 of which have been for this podcast. It's been so long since I've seen like Beetlejuice or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Batman. So I can't really compare much when it comes to those. But I think, I forget who, I think it was Noah who said that we could all agree that the finale is definitely the best part of this movie, because emotionally, it was super effective.
Did anyone here not cry during the finale?
I sobbed. I was in tears.
I got some good tears.
I definitely, and this is honestly like a lot of how I felt about the movie this time. I definitely cried less than I did the first time I saw it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
It's been a while since I, not like incredibly long, 3 years, but And I definitely cried the first time, man.
Yeah.
But even then, it still got me.
Yeah, me too. It's just such a well-rounded ending.
Yeah, it is a really good ending. And I thought the beginning was really well too. I think it established this storybook, like storytelling, really well, and how it affected Billy Crudup's character and his relationship with his father. It was really the middle section that kind of lost it for me. Not all the way. I don't want to say it completely lost it or anything, but it started to become repetitive for me. And maybe this is because it's the first time and I didn't know how it was leading up to its conclusion. But I just felt like, okay, these are some cool stories, but I'm not really seeing where it's going with that. And once the finale did come, I was like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'll definitely say here when you're talking about like the first time thing, there's a lot of like foreshadowing in it too, where it's like, oh, I want you to come back, and then later he came back. It's or like even obviously he's gonna return to his giant friend, but like he does. God, there's one other big one I don't remember that kind of actually really got me, as I kind of didn't expect it to.
Like the witch or Spectre.
No, it wasn't Spectre. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to take a peek into it again. But I think that there's actually a good amount of pretty well done foreshadowing that kind of makes it heartfelt too. I don't know. I don't know where I'm kind of going with this.
It's definitely a very heartfelt movie. Yeah, I don't think that's really anybody's complaint.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in that middle section, it started to lose me. I don't want to say I was ever bored. But I definitely, like I said, it felt like, okay, like as cool and as these stories are, I just didn't really see where it was going up until that finale. So, I mean, maybe a rewatch will change that. But I do feel like I would have liked a bit more to, what was Billy Crudup's character's name? Will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked a bit more of him, like, discovering in like outside of the stories, discovering his father, rather than just thinking like seeing something on the table that reminds him of a story, and then we go into the story, because it feels like his character kind of stays the same throughout up until that ending.
Yeah, there's definitely not all too much of it.
That was definitely the main thing that kind of threw me off. Well, not threw me off so much, but that detracted from how much I like this movie this time. Because like I think a lot of the Edward Bloom, both like Albert Finney and Ewan McGregor stuff is really great, and then Billy Crudup is really just, I mean, like he's a good actor, but he's really just not given much to do until the end. Yeah,
he's like, I mean, he's a good actor, like you said, but his character just doesn't, like, you're 2/3 of the way through the movie and he hasn't really changed, and then it just kind of happens and you're like, oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think is honestly fine if he doesn't change, but then I think you need like a lot less of him in it, and you need a lot more of just like Albert Finney and McGregor.
I think it's definitely a different kind of like character development, where it's just like the really resilient character and then the one big push kind of idea. But I definitely think that's kind of lazy writing in a sense too, right?
Sure.
Because I guess the only real, and I actually really like this scene too, is when he confronts what's her, Helen something?
Bonham Carter.
Yeah, Helen Bonham Carter. When he confronts her about if they had an affair. Right?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. And when later he talks to the doctor, Robert Guillaume, I think. I think those are pretty good, but I think you almost want like a little bit more of that.
Yeah, that was like the first scene in the movie, other than the brief
the postcard where it's like,
well, I'm just talking about
not all the stories. Oh, sorry.
Other than the brief establishment at the beginning of he and his father's relationship, but that scene where he went to Helena Bonham Carter's house was, I think, the first one where I was like, okay, we're actually going somewhere with this character, because, like I said, structurally, it just feels like story. We come back to like reality, and he remembers something. Story, and that just kind of felt maybe lazy, a little choppy for me.
Yeah, I definitely think it happens very late. I definitely agree with your point there.
Yeah, I agree as well, but I also just like seeing the stories. Like, again,
I think the stories are wonderful.
The stories were fun. Yeah. And
I don't think
when I say repetitive, I don't mean like super repetitive, but I was like, okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, they're definitely different, but they usually have the same outcome.
Mm.
Edward Bloom works hard and gets what he wants, kind of thing.
Mm.
All right, yeah.
I
like the take.
just there was one little joke that just felt really weird to me. It was in the story where he parachutes in Korea, and they're having that show or whatever, and he goes backstage. Or he goes into the office of someone, and two Korean soldiers like attack him in like karate style, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" It just felt so off.
Yeah, but see, to me, like again, yeah, totally weird. But to me, that's again the ridiculousness.
Yeah, well,
that's like
obviously it's representative of his exaggeration of the stories. True, but that one, it was just like, huh?
I feel that.
Yeah,
I love the way he finishes that fight, though. Just when he pulls out the night vision goggles, I found that hilarious.
That was cool. That was really good. Yeah.
Like, do you know like how like I guess it's definitely directed towards children. I kind of perceive that as like a boundary. Like they obviously can't just shoot them. So it was just kind of like a ridiculous way of showing he killed them without like, oops.
So I actually thought about the other. Thought about the other foreshadowing thing. It's when the witch's eye, and you see the older kid from wow, I'm forgetting the name of the original town. But when you see the older kid like fall over and die, and then that's how he gets the girl, which could also be seen as one of the worst parts of the film. It's like if you really like someone and they're about to get married, just keep going.
Just keep at it.
I mean, I feel like that is a very. I mean, like, because it's pretty obvious, I feel like, especially on rewatch, that, like, that didn't happen. Like, I mean, it's clear that, like, he probably ended up, like, meeting her at college, and maybe she was engaged, or maybe there was just another man in his life. But it's not, like, literally, Ewan McGregor's strength of love for her overcame all obstacles.
Everything's it's exaggerated for a purpose, and it's very, like, romanticized, too.
Right. Yes, exactly. I mean, I think that entire vignette, like from the circus to the college, is probably my favorite story, or like little sequence, I guess. And I do think it really, I mean, it speaks to like the romanticization that's clear throughout the entire movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I definitely think it's one of my favorite parts of the film too, is how they can like, God, what am I trying to say? How they can kind of make these stories larger than life, but still kind of the magicality of that, the fact that they are real, right? Like obviously Danny DeVito didn't turn into a werewolf. Obviously the man isn't that tall. And then like when you get to the finale and you like actually see them, it's so much like, once again, wonder, built up. And I think it teaches a valuable lesson of being able to know something's magical, but understand that it might not all be truly real, right?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely the point of the film, right? And definitely
nothing wrong with a little bit of embellishment every once in a while, right?
But yeah, I don't know. I like it a lot.
Also, a quick shout out to Steve Buscemi. I really like.
Yes, by the way,
oh
yes.
My God.
I literally was just about to say that his scene.
I guess I'll call them quote unquote guest performances when it might not be the best term here. But both Steve Buscemi and Danny DeVito are fucking great in this film. The bank robbery scene is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love how after the bank robbery scene, it just kind of like jumps into the future, and he's like, oh yeah, and he sent me a check, and what did he word it? He was like,
$10,000
how he worded it. It was like
it was an.
No. But he was like, why he gave them the $10,000? Oh, it was like a career,
because he was his career
advising.
Yeah. That was really funny.
I also really liked his poem that he spent 20 years.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely laughed throughout the movie.
A fun fact about this movie? So for Spectre, they actually built a set out. I want to say it was in somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere around, not in Florida, but I think it was like North Carolina or something. And it was completely abandoned, and it's still there. So
Nice.
it's decrepit and abandoned, and people visit there and they throw the shoes up on the line. It's still
Oh,
there.
cool.
That's really
Everything's
cool.
still there.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, right when you just said how it was all built, and I mean, CGI channel would have been disgusting, but thank God this film was made before CGI was too advanced. Same thing with fucking Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, because god damn it, this Burton overused CGI.
Yeah, I mean, same with literally every. I think this is like the last, because like the next one after Big Fish is Charlie, right? So this is like the last big one that is like before a lot of CGI, and like especially the slow motion scene, it uses CGI really well. And I just think it's like interesting to think of what would have happened if we had like this specific mix of like some practical and some CGI, but not like replacing a lot of practical with CGI.
Does the fish look awful?
Yeah.
Being the fish.
Well, I think it was like right at the end when he jumps out of the water. I was like, ooh, but it's not
Burton like getting a sense. It's like, I really like this, but everyone around him's like, no, and
then you get Alice in Wonderland,
and then his next two films were both had, in my opinion, pretty bad CGI openings.
Yeah, but
I mean, his next like 4 or 5 films, honestly, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Sweeney Todd, Alice in Wonderland.
Those were the two that I've seen that I'm like.
Well, Sweeney Todd didn't have really bad.
I didn't like it personally.
Yeah, I don't really like the CGI for that. Like, especially.
See, I thought it fit.
No, I could definitely see that. I just think like how Sweeney Todd was one of like the later Tim Burtons that I saw, and at that point I was just like really burnt out on the CGI, and I was like, even if this is like thematic.
What? Any of you guys see Big Eyes?
I did.
I haven't, but I actually want to.
It's okay.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good, but again, like, okay, so I've seen every Tim Burton movie. Most of them have been in the past 9 months, which was honestly, in retrospect, a bad idea because I don't like love Burton, but I do like a lot of his movies. Big Eyes is pretty good, but it's not like great or anything.
I mean, I just like Christoph Waltz a lot, and I like Amy Adams quite a bit, so.
Yeah. I mean,
it's an interesting story.
It is, definitely.
But I mean, I don't know. I thought the movie was all right.
Really?
Yeah,
it's a true story.
All right, so I guess we might as well end the meeting here so we go back, but we should do a Tim Burton ranked. If I know none of us might have anyone specific, you only have like 3, but why?
I only have 3.
Why not? I only have. Oh God, let's count Nightmare Before Christmas because why not?
Well, I mean, it's immediately going to my number 1.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It's probably my number 2. I really like Big Fish.
I've seen the least, so I'll just go real quick. If I were to rank them, I think Sweeney Todd would be my favorite. Even though I didn't really love Sweeney Todd. Same with Nightmare Before Christmas, if we're counting that. I think that one's it's good, but I don't love it. Same with Big Fish, and then Big Eyes. So I haven't seen a great Tim Burton film yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
But none of them are bad. None of them are outright bad. I'll say that.
I'd probably go Big Fish and then Nightmare Before Christmas. But I definitely think, honestly, the best part of Nightmare Before Christmas is Henry Selick's direction, and I think Henry Selick's actually a fantastic director. One of the best directors doing animated work out there right now. I mean, Coraline.
Right now, yeah.
No.
I mean, the last movie we made was, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You could say contemporary.
In this times. Yeah, one of the best contemporaries.
No, I see what you mean, though.
Coraline, I fucking love James and the Giant Peach. I adore that film.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And after that, kind of falls off a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. I'd have to go Edward Scissorhands. Then we do Beetlejuice and Charlie and Chocolate Factory for me.
So how many do you have on there?
Just 5. I'd have others that I'd seen as a kid, but it's been so long that I won't really go in depth. Sebastian?
Nightmare Before Christmas is my number 1 favorite. I mean, if we're gonna count it, I mean, I grew up on it and I've seen it. I can't tell you how many times my mom plays it all the time, and I had to listen to the soundtrack in the car all the time. So I love it. And then Big Fish, and then honestly, Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands is I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And then Beetlejuice, and then I'm gonna put Batman as number 5. I think Batman, again, as I said before, I'm a big Prince fan, so I mean the soundtrack to the movie is fantastic. So
pretty damn cool.
It's really awesome. And then just the craziness of it. I think After Tim Burton's Batman, I think all of the Batmans kind of fall off after that point until Nolan. I think there's not really any notable Batman movies up until that point. I think Tim Burton's Batman is like the quintessential Batman movie, and then Nolan kind of like took that and like made it like modern.
You can definitely.
I mean, you only had
Burton.
the Joel Schumacher between that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, no, there's a
Batman
lot
Returns.
more, dude. You had Batman Returns. You had Batman Forever, Jim Carrey.
That's what I'm talking about. Those are the Joel Schumacher ones.
Yeah. And then the Clooney one. Or was I don't even know if it was so bad. Yeah.
No, that was the last Schumacher one, I think.
Yeah.
I will say that you were talking about how Nolan might have modernized it. It's definitely because comics changed a lot, right? Comics got a lot more serious and definitely grew for a different audience.
I think at that time, no one perceived Batman to be where Batman is at now.
Oh, for sure.
Almost positive. I
Hard
mean,
agree.
superheroes in general. I mean, like they were kind of a niche back then, and now look at them. Like they're taking over the world.
Especially compared to now, they were a niche.
Yes, they were a niche. That's why I love Tim Burton's Batman, because it literally feels like a niche. It feels like I am reading a like OG like 60s Batman comic book, and Jack Nicholson is just Jack Nicholson in that movie. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. So really quickly, especially, I'm just going to streamline the bad ones. Okay, so starting from the bottom, Alice in Wonderland, awful. Corpse Bride, bad. Sweeney Todd, I do not like that movie. Dark Shadows, bad. Frankenweenie, not great. Miss Peregrine, full title, I forget it. Whatever.
Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Thank you. Honestly, and like these are when they start getting interesting, but they're still pretty bad. So Miss Peregrine, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Planet of the Apes, which honestly Planet of the Apes is more interesting than I'd been led to believe, but it's still not very good. And then Big Eyes, which I like but don't love, Dumbo, Mars Attacks, Sleepy Hollow, which are all in the same situation. And then Edward Scissorhands, which is pretty good, not great. I don't know. And then number 6, Ed Wood, which is a great movie. It's about Ed Wood, who was a...
Oh, I forgot that's a Burton movie.
Plan 9, dude.
Oh, so you've seen it, Sebastian?
Yeah, I forgot. Dude, I forgot about Mars Attacks, too. I love Mars Attacks. I forgot about those two.
This might be honestly, the only Burton movie with a 4.0 average, like 4.0 plus on Letterboxd.
Yeah, well, I think it is largely considered one of his best movies, if not like his best movie. It's definitely more traditional. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty good. Yeah, it's definitely more traditional than most of his movies, but still has a little weird Burton stuff to it.
It's like The Disaster Artist, basically.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. It actually is.
So is Dark Shadows literally just the Addams Family, but worse?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much worse. Like, it's not funny. There's like nothing. It's like honestly fine. It's not.
It's
like
honestly, it's pretty hard to watch though, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's mostly just boring for me. It's not even like bad to watch and like in the way that like Alice in Wonderland is. I don't know. Okay, so number 5, Batman, which I think is a good movie. No, I mean like a great movie. Like at this point, they're all like great movies. I don't really think any of them are masterpieces per se.
No.
But I like Tim Burton's aesthetic enough. And then Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, which is definitely...
I forgot about that one too!
That's Burton?
Yeah.
That was his debut, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. So it is definitely... Well, I would say it's less Burton, but I mean like Pee Wee Herman is a pretty Burton-esque concept even before you throw Burton into it. Like it's very weird and wacky.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the most childish of his movies.
It's Edward Scissorhands if Pee Wee Herman had scissors for hands.
I mean, the opposite of that, but sure.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's funny. I mean, it's one of his best movies for sure. And then Big Fish, which we obviously just talked about. And then Batman Returns, which I think is a really interesting movie. And like honestly, the most interesting thing about that is like it really is like, especially when I rewatched it a couple of months ago, it's like very Catwoman centric, and like Michelle Pfeiffer has much more screen time than Michael Keaton, who feels like he's barely in it, especially compared to the original one. But I think that's a very interesting way to approach a Batman movie, and I think Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is a very interesting and probably honestly like the most fleshed out female character that Burton has ever written, if we're being honest. Except for maybe Beetlejuice, by which I mean Winona Ryder. But Beetlejuice is my number 1. It's a great movie. It's very funny. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Michael Keaton is great. I mean, I think everybody is great. Like Michael Keaton, great. Gina Davis, great. Alec Baldwin, incredible. Winona Ryder, like, wow, you know? I mean, I just think everybody's giving a really solid performance. For a lot of them, it's, like, I think it's Winona Ryder and Alec Baldwin's, like, basically breakout roles. And I think they're just doing a great job. And I think a lot of the reason that Thomas doesn't like it is more because of how, like, sort of boring the non-Beetlejuice people are, but I think that's very funny in a way that a lot of Burton movies are, sort of like Scissorhands, where it's like, oh, look at these normal people, they're so boring. But I think it's, like, it just really comes together very nicely.
I feel like that's kind of a concept with Burton, I think, in majority of his films. It's about the extraordinary. And
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and in contrast to the ordinary, and I think that's especially poignant and, like, well done in Beetlejuice. And it's, like, super exaggerated because, like, Alec Baldwin, I mean, like, himself is a very milquetoast person even before you start getting into, like, his performance in that role. And then, like, Beetlejuice is one of the most insane movie characters ever. Like, he's a
so
pedophile, like,
oh my
ghost.
God.
Like, it's so strange and mind-boggling in a way that, like, I feel like Edward Scissorhands even is a bit too much like, oh, look at this, like, he's so weird. But I feel like Beetlejuice is actually genuinely strange. It's, like, crazy that got made into a movie. It's great.
Yeah, good point. All right.
And I guess Nightmare Before Christmas is at the top, but I kind of forgot about that.
Oh, if we do include it, number one for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our ranking.
Yeah, and to
Noah, you're picking the movie for this week, and what's it gonna be?
So I think I mentioned last week that the Coen brothers are one of my favorite filmmaking teams, filmmakers, whatever. So next week we're going to watch Inside Llewyn Davis.
Awesome.
Can't wait.
Movie.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
I think everyone's seen it besides Thomas, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'll be the one non-rewatch take. It's gonna be exciting.
There we go.
All right. For anyone who actually watches us, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
And that'll wrap up Post Pro Podcast episode 7. Until next time.